Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV and a new show, or at least a new way to kind of explore the way Arsenal have started this season. We've been wanting to do this for a while, but obviously there's been all the World Cup hype, everyone's enjoying that. But we think now the dust has settled, there's a bit of time to look back at some of the stats that sum up what Arsenal are doing this season, how they're doing it, and hopefully they'll kind of just spark conversations and discussion topics for me and Turkish who are here. What are we calling this show? Behind the Numbers? Something like that?
I think that's a good name for it. Behind the Numbers.
If you guys like it, well, we're going to call it for this one. If you've got other names, let us know in the comments and you can be a part of helping us build this show. And of course, any other ideas, you let us know. But yes, essentially, that is what we're doing. We're taking the numbers. What's behind them? Why are they like that? What do they tell us about this team? And I'm really glad we're doing this together, Turkish, because I think when we kind of talk in the office, I know you do Supporters Club, a lot of the other conversational stuff, but you are interested in the stats. You do think that they can illustrate a certain standard Arsenal are playing at. And I know that a lot of the ones we're going to go through today have really impressed you.
Yeah, stats can strengthen a case. It can offer caution to the wind, as what people like to say. So stats are not the be-all and end-all. We've just had an AFTV live there where we talked about how football's changed over the years. Yeah. And part of that is the influx in stats and too many people paying attention to stats. Yeah. But like you said, it can help mold the conversation. It can give you belief. It can also apply caution. So it's good to take in the numbers and look into them a bit. But like you said, I prefer a conversation based off of Arsenal, but numbers matter a lot. So we'll delve into them.
Well, let's do it. I want to split this into kind of almost 4 sections. 4, maybe even 5. Starting with the process and what that meant, the project and all that, why that word was so divisive for so many people, but also what it means. Because I think a lot of people felt it was PR jargon just to get us through bad times. Other people actually felt it was a way of explaining why things can go down before they go up. And there are some numbers here. Let me give you some stats. The average age of our last 9 signings, 22.9.
Yep.
So figure that out. That must be
close to 23, let's say.
Yeah, close to 23 years. Arsenal averaged the youngest starting 11 out on the Premier League pitch at 24 years and 8 months. And our contribution from players, Jesus with 5 goals, 6 assists, 11 goals and assists. Saka's in there, Odegaard, Martinelli as well. We'll touch on those numbers a little bit more in a sec. But let's start with those first couple points about the average age of the players we've been signing and the average age of the team that's been going out there and playing the majority of minutes for Arsenal. That maybe sums up what this process is?
Yeah, it's been a rocky ride, but we sit here now top of the league and it's all good and well talking in hindsight. And when you look back, not only at Arsenal, but I'm going to touch in on like Man United, for example, and how during some of their worst times, they've thrown money at the situation, hoping that it would get better.
Sure.
Not necessarily having a plan, whereas with the numbers here, the age in terms of average age of the last 9 signings, you look at the average age of the Premier League, 11 out there, youngest in the league, you can see what the plan was. And looking back now, it was the right way to go about it. The squad was rotten when Arteta came in, and that's nothing to do with Mikel, that's nothing to do with Edu. It was rotten. So there had to be an influx of outgoings and an influx of incomings. And over the 2.5, 3 years now that he's been here, he's done that pretty well. And he's not only trimmed the age of the squad, but he's upped the quality of the squad at the same time. And I think once you get over the line and make Champions League, that's when maybe you add in the experience and you add in maybe the winners and the world-class players to help complete the squad, let's say.
I touched on those numbers from Jesus, 5 goals, 6 assists since he joined. Saka, what he's putting up this season. Let me read through some of the others.
Yep.
Saka with 5 goals, 6 assists as well, same as Jesus. Odegaard with 6 goals, 2 assists. Martinelli with 5 goals, 2 assists. Granit Xhaka himself with 4 goals and 3 assists. As part of the process also been contribution from everyone playing a part, no dependency on one person, and maybe you see that in the way he dealt with things like Aubameyang, maybe Ozil or whatever. It's about the team and the 11 and everyone pulls their weight.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, if I go back to 3-4 years ago, all of the goals were coming from Oba. 80-90% of our goals were coming from Oba, and that was always going to end bad, however it was going to end, and the way it ended was bad enough. But when most of your goals and activity in the opposition box come from one player, it doesn't bode well for the future. Now we've got multiple players, goals, assists, chemistry, fluidity, coming out of a position, stepping into another, that other player knowing to step into your position. So I think it bodes well for modern day football. And when you look at Pep Guardiola sides of the past, you can see that Mikel's kind of got his blueprint from Pep, but it seems to also be a bit different too. So I'm interested to find out how different he is to Pep moving forward. But what he's done so far is bring that element where goals can come from anywhere of the front 4 or 5 players.
Yeah. Let's move on to actually what Arsenal have done this season from a pure points perspective. 14 games played, 12 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat. Now I know you got some numbers and stats that kind of contextualise that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But do you think with the build-up to the World Cup and the fact that it's been so fast and furious, what we're starting the season early, game after game, we've had Europa League, which we didn't have last season, do you think maybe we've not actually even had the time to fully appreciate how unbelievably good a start that is? That is like history. That's a start that sits in history. Like, they will talk about whoever starts well next season, in 10 years' time, whatever, this team will be talked about as having started in that first 14, 15, say even 10 games. They'll talk about that team as having made a lightning start.
Yeah, I just hope that when it is talked about, it's a lightning start and a lightning end, because start is the most important word in that sentence. And to be honest with you, I looked at the numbers of the last 4 teams that were first after 14 games. And I said to you, I'm delving into these numbers to help strengthen the case that Arsenal can win the league. But then when I actually delved into the numbers, I said to you again, it's not actually strengthened the case. It's probably applied more caution to the wind than anything. And the reason I say that is, you look at last season, Chelsea 2021-22, won 10, drawn 3, lost 1 in the first 14 games. They had 33 points and a goal difference of 27. Obviously, our goal difference at the moment is 22. So, similar 4-point difference. Chelsea finished 3rd at the end of the season, some way off the top 2. The season before that, Liverpool, 31 points after 14 games, having won 9, drawn 4 and lost 1. A goal difference of 17, so some way off there. They finished 3rd that season too. Now, the previous 2 seasons to that is where it kind of gets interesting and balances up the debate, because in 2019-20, Liverpool were top after 14 games, having won 13 and only drawn 1, a goal difference of 20. They ended up winning the league. Obviously, that was the COVID season. The season before that, 2018-19, City were top after 14 games. They had 38 points, having won 12 and drawn 2, a goal difference of 37. So when I look at the last 4 years, the last 2 teams in top place after 14 games finished 3rd. The previous 2 years before those 2, the team top after 14 finished 1st. They was obviously Liverpool, Manchester City, and you can see their dominance over the years. But it kind of, for me, it applies caution. Like I said, start is the most important word I heard when you was mentioning that sentence previously. It is a great start, but it's also about a great finish. And these numbers tell us that it can really go one way and it can go the other. So it hasn't really strengthened or decreased the case for whether Arsenal can get it over the line this season.
Well, it is. You know what's interesting about that is, points-wise, our tally is closer to those title winners of Liverpool and City, and record-wise, it just looks on the eye, the 12 wins, to City's 12 and Liverpool's 13. But actually, maybe the team, and this isn't to discredit, because a lot of this video is to credit what Arsenal are doing. But maybe this team feels a little closer to Chelsea and Liverpool sides that were top at this stage in the last 2 seasons, but ended up nearer a top 4 battle. And the reason I say that is because look what happened when Liverpool got injuries in the 2021 season. It kind of fell apart. That's what everyone keeps saying is looming over Arsenal. What happens when you get those injuries? Do you have the depth? When you look at Chelsea, Lukaku ended up not being signed. They thought, again, you kind of go back, well, what if we lose our firepower? So I think in some ways maybe we're a little more... Look, I think we're better than those 2 teams in terms of... Well, maybe not Liverpool, because they were title winners and they just had an off year.
Yeah, the year before,
But generally, I think we maybe look more convincing than some of those teams did at that point. It's hard to remember fully.
But that's why I included goals scored and conceded, because that aids your case as well. It's not just all about the points, even though the points tell us that was somewhere in between the last 2 and the 2 previously to win it. But all in all, to take the positive aspect out of it, none of those teams finished outside Champions League spaces. Now, I don't think we'd be happy with finishing third like Chelsea did last year.
Of course,
some way off top four. I believe in the end it was close to 20 points, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
were very close to us in the
end.
A couple wins basically just kept them away from the top
So
four
they
race.
had a great start last season. They had a start that people would compare to the greatest starts, but in the end, they had a season essentially to forget. So I look at Arsenal, I put them in between there, but at the same time, you mentioned Lukaku with Chelsea as well. That was a big moment for them. You might compare an injury to us in a key position. That could be a big moment for us. That's why I always say we have to hope for the best on the injury front. We have to hope in January we do some business. But what these numbers tell us is we'll be finishing in Champions League spot come next season. And that was the target first and foremost, above all else. Before we kicked the ball against Crystal Palace, we all said we want Champions League football back at the Emirates. So the stats tell us we'll be back in the Champions League next season. However, they don't tell us much about a potential title challenge.
It is looking good, at least in that race for top four. I mean, it's looking good in every aspect, but you are right. I've got more to touch on, especially when it comes to that top four race. But before we do, let's compare those numbers to the Invincibles, just because it's a bit of fun. Why not? No one's for 1 second sitting here going, we've got the next Invincible. Well, we don't because they've lost. But we've got the next, side that can compete in terms of Arsenal history. What we do have is a team that actually have outdone the Invincibles in terms of the first 14 games. So let's give them that credit. 2 wins more than the Invincibles. Only the 1 draw to their 4. But of course, they were undefeated by this point. They'd scored 28 goals, had 10 conceded. I say it's still we, but this team, 33 goals and 11 conceded. So the 1 more conceded, but more goals. But again, you can't really compare. And we know what they went on to achieve, and we know 14 games is still very early, but it's just maybe another yardstick to go, okay, that's a confidence boost. That's really nice to know.
You take this start to the season 22-23 that we're currently in, and you put it into 2003-4, 2002-3, and so on over those years, we will win the league. Now it's very different with Manchester City here. And I know Manchester City, on the face of it, you might look at the table and say they haven't started the season in the way that we used to, but essentially they haven't started seasons well for a little while now.
No, it's true. They pick up pace as it goes on.
The last 3 seasons I just mentioned, the team top after 14 games was Chelsea, Liverpool. City haven't been top after 14 games since the 2018-19 season, which was four years ago now. So compared to Invincibles, the numbers look great. But when you compare the competition and the levels of quality, then there's still a lot more work to be done.
Now, we said that we'd be balanced, and unfortunately these numbers, big thanks to Graham, by the way, who all his research has even played a part in this show. Of course, you see him on Tactical Insight, the amazing work he does. But I've kept this up my sleeve since he sent it to me a couple of weeks ago. Numbers went top at Christmas. This is where Arsenal have finished since 1925 that they finished top at Christmas. Second in 25-26. First, they won the league in 31, 33 and 35. They finished third in 1937. They finished first in 1948, third in 52, and then it becomes more recent, fourth in 87. So there's a good 35-year gap between the times Arsenal were top of the table. Fourth in 87, fourth in 1990, second in 2003, third in 2008. So recent history doesn't tell you that being top of Christmas, now especially in a year where normally by Christmas you've played 18 games. Now we're 12 points off, potential points off that. So even that is nothing really to get over the top about, being top of Christmas this year.
Yeah, this is where I apply some more caution and say, top at Christmas, but it's not the same as previous seasons where top at Christmas means you've played 18, maybe 19 games up until that point, or at least 17. It's only been 14 games so far, so we've still got a few
Norwich
games
on Boxing Day last year was our 19th.
Well, there you go, so 18 coming up to the Christmas Day. So again, yes, we're top at Christmas, but with the World Cup there and the lack of games, I think we need to kind of take a step back and I keep on saying it, enjoy the ride. Don't put too much pressure on it.
I agree.
We're looking at these numbers and like I said, I was hoping to strengthen the case by looking at the opposition over the years and who's been first. I couldn't strengthen it. In fact, it kind of makes me worry a little more than I did previously to looking at it, but it is what it is. I'm happy with where we are. I'm not going to lose myself, and if we don't win the league come the end of the season, be as upset as I was last season when we missed out on top 4, because essentially getting back into the Champions League is really the next step for this club. If we manage to get a league title over the line, then amazing. I've been waiting a hell of a long time to see that again. But, you know, at the same, I don't want to knock Arteta or Edu for the great work they've done so far, because they're overachieving at the moment, in my opinion. We shouldn't be top after 14 games. We shouldn't have as good a record as we do. 1-12, lost 1, drawn 1. Even the one we lost, we're kind of upset about because we outplayed them for the majority of the game. So they've overachieved at the moment. But as we can see from previous seasons, yeah, let's look at it a bit differently to how we would before. Obviously, the last 5 times we've been top at Christmas, we haven't got over the line in terms of finishing the season first. And the last 5 times we were top at Christmas, we would have had played more games up until this point. So 14 games in, top. But let's see how we return from the World Cup.
Yeah, now I want to go into some more, slightly more kind of below the initial base stats, you know, the league tables, the points and all that, and actually look at some of the habits that we're seeing from Arsenal. And I think the first thing we could do is focus on the mentality of this team. Now, what I did, I watched back my season review of the last season, and in there I had a lot of comparisons between the season we finished 8th under Arteta behind closed doors and the season we finished 5th. And what I tallied together was actually, well, first I looked at total wins, and in that 2021 season, 18 wins. Last season we finished 5th, 22 wins. We're already on 12 wins this season. So that is a massive, a much quicker rate picking up the wins. I think the big thing to really trim down is the amount of games lost. But again, we'll talk about that another day. The other thing I got down was 3+ game winning runs. And what I was basically looking at is how often could Arsenal go on a run where they can just put back-to-back wins together, just 9 points on the spin, bam, 9 points on the spin, bam, maybe 9, 10, 9, 12, whatever it might be. We only did that twice in the 2021 season. Only twice did we actually win 3 games or more in a row.
Yeah.
Last season we did it 6 times, and now we've done it twice, but we obviously know that we've actually dropped so few points. That's actually not really fair because we've gone and put 5 wins on the bounce, 5 wins on the bounce here and there. But that's a big change. The fact that Arsenal are showing an ability to build momentum.
Yeah, I think that came a bit from last season too. I mentioned last season how we bounced back a lot quicker than we bounced back previously. And there were still moments where we'd have our lulls. But I remember there was a comment, I don't know whether it was in the live that we done or whether it was in the comment section of a video. But after the Southampton Leeds games and the Europa League games in between, there was one of the comments, because I go through the comments often. I like to hear the feedback and what people say, what people want, and help us improve what we're delivering. But what did the comment say? It said, this is our lull. This is our poor patch.
Yeah.
Our poor patch is now, because we've improved so much, is a draw or a scraping a 1-0 win or, you know, maybe losing to PSV in the Europa League. That is our bad patch now in comparison to maybe 2 years ago, where our bad patch would be lose 3 and draw 1 on the bounce, or lose 3 out of the 5 games. Because our quality has upped, we've got to get used to knowing that our poor patches of form will still deliver points and progression. And that's key to being able to win the league, because every team will go through a poor patch at some point. Yeah. Well, apart from the Invincibles. But yeah, that was a long time ago now. Even Manchester City, during some of their great title wins, they had a couple moments in the season where they had to bounce back. So I think, you know, that makes sense. And it kind of, I hope it's the case. There's still the majority of the season to go, and I'm sure there's still going to be hiccups and obstacles along the way. I'm sure we'll lose another game for sure. It's how we bounce back that matters more so than worrying about if we lose another one.
Another thing that shows great mentality is actually how you're able to take those games where you are doing well against the teams you should beat. Everyone can feel confidence in those, but actually then go and apply that same game plan, that same style on those around you, or let's call it those big 6 battles. Now, again, in the 2021 season, we only won 3 games. We lost 6 times. We scored 8 goals. We conceded 12. The record actually got worse in the 21-22 season. Still 3 wins, 7 defeats. Okay, we scored 5 more goals. We conceded 29. Average points dropped from 1.3 to 0.9. This season, the 4 games, Liverpool and Spurs are home, Chelsea and United away, and we've already matched the wins for 3. We got a win, we've only got the 1 defeat, which was at United, like we lost last season, but we beat Liverpool at home where we lost last year. We scored 8 goals, conceded 6, and we're averaging 2.25 points in those games. And listen, again, we still got to go to the Etihad, we still got to go to Anfield, we still got to go to Spurs, 3 places we lost last year. But we've already matched the same amount of wins.
Yeah.
We're already looking like we're going to get the same. And there's a different mentality in those games because we're going to Chelsea, we're dominating. We're conceding a goal to Liverpool, we're then getting on the front foot, we're getting that penalty, we go 3-2 up, and then rather than being under the cosh for the last 20 minutes, we're controlling our way through. And that, I think, is as much down to coaching and ability and all that, it's mentality.
Yeah, I think if we double up on the numbers for the rest of the season, if we win another 3 of our big 6 fixtures, we'll have 6 fixtures left against the big 6 because we've played 4, I believe. So yeah, if we win 3 of the next 6, then I think we'll be top 2 minimum. And you look at the numbers from previous years: 3 wins in 21-22, 3 wins in 2021. We're already on 3 wins now. Yes, we've got tough away games to come, but yes, this is a different Arsenal team too. So, we can only have our, belief and hope and see what's to come. But we've put ourselves in a great position in this World Cup break. And no one would have guessed it, but we all would have wanted this for sure. So long may it continue.
Yeah. My next section is on firepower. I think this is a big thing, is our ability to score goals. And
Yep.
I remember do you remember that game we lost 2-1 at Watford, the whole cojones thing?
Yeah.
And I remember the team that went out there, and I thought it was a back 3, it was El Neni and Xhaka in midfield, nothing on them, but just felt the whole thing was very uninspiring. I was thinking, where are my Ursels, where are my Cazolas, my Fabregas, Sleb, where are all these players? And then the one thing that Arteta's been bringing back in, your Smith Rowes, your Vieiras, your Odegaards, but even Martinez, Saka, beautifully technical, Jesus, Xhaka showing that side of his game. And what we're getting now is a team that look far more fluid, far more exciting. And I think we see it again. Now, last season again, in this review I did, I looked back at how many goals we were actually getting from our front 4, where City last season had 41 goals from their front 4, 59 Liverpool, 33 Chelsea, 48 Spurs. Arsenal only got 31 goals from their front 4 last season. Now already we've got 21 goals in the 14 Premier League games. That's a projection of 57 if that rate continues throughout the rest of the season. And we know that the likes of Xhaka and all them are stepping in. So the point I'm trying to make is the fact that there's a contribution, not only across the board, but that front 3 or 4, Odegaard included, our top goal scorer, they're a big driving force in why we've got the goal tally we've got after 14 games.
Yeah, again, similar to the last answer I gave. If we come anywhere near that projection for the front 4? Yeah, front 4.
Yeah.
That's what, another 36 goals. We'll be top 2 come the end of the season.
Yep. That's a projected goal tally and goal difference, by the way, of 90 goals for the season, Arsenal. That's what, if this rate continues.
Yeah.
I think it's different. I think you can do that with goals and less so with points. With points, when you know you haven't gone to the Etihad, Anfield, you feel there's a few that might skew it.
Yeah.
But I think with goals, I think it's fair to say that there's a certain rate that can be maintained, though there might be lulls. So I'm not saying we'll score 90 goals, but I think you can expect 75 to 80 or something.
I agree.
It's a goals against of 30 and it's a goal difference of plus 60. That's the current projection. Of course, we know things change. We know things might happen. We know we've been fortunate with injuries. We know all that. But for context, last season, Man City had a plus 73 goal difference. Liverpool plus 68. Chelsea plus 43. Arsenal's goal differences in the last 10 years, 2012-13 plus 35, 13-14 27, 14-15 plus 35, 15-16 plus 29. But you can all see it. It goes up and then it goes down.
Doesn't get any
and down
better.
and down, essentially.
Yeah.
So for us to be even on a projection of plus 60, you could chop 20 off those.
And we still be
we could score 10 less goals and concede 10 more than that, and we'll still have a much better than goal difference of what we've been putting up. And I think that is a massive thing for Arsenal. Yep. Games are purely won on scoring more goals than you're conceding. Sometimes it comes down to that.
It's a massive indicator of the future. I think Premier League season, 38 games is an indicator of how you're moving, in the direction you're moving. Tournament football. Anyone can have their day in the knockout stages. The Premier League, it tells you where you are and where you're potentially headed. And with Arsenal, you look at the numbers there and you look at our numbers so far this season, we are potentially headed into a much brighter future than the recent history and the recent past we've had. And long may that continue. You mentioned the away games, and I know it's a slightly off subject, but we can't dismiss Crystal Palace away. We can't dismiss Brentford away, Leeds away. I guarantee the big 6 sides are not all beating these teams away, But we've managed to do that. So yes, we've got City away. Yes, we've got Tottenham away. Yes, we've got Liverpool away. And yes, they're going to be very, very difficult games. But I don't think that all of those teams are beating Brentford away, Palace away, Leeds away, amongst some of the others we had. All right, Bournemouth away, I guess, yeah, I expect the majority to beat them. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a hiccup somewhere along the line. So what we've been doing our job away from home. Not only doing our job, but getting the clean sheets too. And again, goals scored and goals conceded and the goal difference is very important to knowing that you're improving in the attack, but at the same time, you're improving defensively. I remember when Klopp first came in, they was banging in goals, but defensively, they was leaky as hell. I think they got close to 100 goals one season, but they conceded 50 plus or close enough to 50.
They were leaky, you're right.
Yeah, and the improvements they had to make on that, I believe it was Alisson, Van Dijk, and then so on. And, you know, they had their attack pretty much sorted. They improved the defense, sorted, challenging for leagues, winning Champions League, winning the league as well. Us, it looks like it's improving together. It's very different. It's this season our attack has improved and also defensively we've improved. We've got the joint best record defensively in the league at the moment.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up the defence because that was the final thing I wanted to touch on actually. For tackles in the attacking third, Arsenal rank 4th amongst all teams in the league. For tackles in the middle third, we rank, I'm just refreshing here, 2nd bottom, Man United. And then defensive third, we rank 3rd bottom, Liverpool and Man City below us. What does this tell us about the way Arsenal are trying to do most of their best work at the very top end of the pitch, trying to press? Because what I've been noticing is Arsenal dropping into much more of a shape. They're very kind of 2 banks of 4 and actually very congested when it gets in and around the penalty area. Partey will drop into the defence. Xhaka will drop into the defence. But when they can press up the pitch, they're more than happy to do so.
Yeah, we're much more of a unit now. That's why I like to call it a unit, especially defensively when the opposition got the ball. The players know what to do, where to be. The players know who to cover, how to cover. If there's someone at a position, best believe that someone's slotting into that position. So what I've seen is a great level of maturity this season defensively. And that's mad to say when you have a young Saliba coming in, you have a young Ben White being moved to right back.
Gabriel's 24, I think.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Zinchenko's come in and he's slotted in at left back for the majority. I think the majority of games, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's played about half, but he's maybe only 6 or 7 games. But he's been clearly the first choice.
Yeah, and it's a young, what is he, 25?
Yeah.
It's a young back 4. Add a keeper to that, it's even younger.
Yeah.
So I think the levels of maturity being shown already this season, I think we're on to good things.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts, Turkish? I mean, the numbers kind of paint the picture for me of a side that have immense potential, but also not, nothing's guaranteed.
Yeah, well, if the numbers tell you anything, then Champions League should be guaranteed. But touch wood. But yeah, take it with a pinch of salt. The numbers are interesting, but the numbers are not the be all and end all. So as much as the numbers look favourable in terms of Champions League football, there's a bit of hesitancy there in regards to a Premier League title challenge. But happy days. I'm enjoying the ride, and it's been a long time since I could say that. So big up Arsenal, big up Arteta, big up Edu. Ronke, over to you.
I agree. Yeah, that's right. Give them help in January. Guys, we're going to round it off there. Hopefully, what this sort of video we put together, we planned it, we wanted to go through the numbers, we wanted to kind of look at what stood out to us. Hopefully what this is telling us is, yes, to have the handbrake on a little bit, but it's also just praising what they've done, because it also maybe puts into context just quite how unbelievable a start it's been. And we all miss our Arsenal. And we were talking about it on the lives, only 2 weeks till they back in friendly action and getting ready for West Ham. So we look forward to seeing them back in those friendlies in the Dubai Cup and everything. But let us know your thoughts in the comment section. What have these numbers taught you? What stands out to you? What do you think is the most important factor? And what are you hoping maybe even improves come the end of the season? Because I think some of the numbers we didn't even touch on is things like the amount of changes we've made or rotation. Maybe those are things that suggest that there's maybe too much dependence on a certain core 13, 14 players. That's something you'd like us to explore. We can always do a part 2. So let us know in the comments what you made of all this. A big thanks for joining us. Like the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to AFTV for more Arsenal content.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.